अपना माने कीमती अच्छांती समझते आज मु अपना मनंका गहनारे उपस्थित थिबारु बहुत खुशी माने करू अच्छी Apologies for the pronunciation errors, if any, but I'm really happy to be amongst all of you today. It's a great honor, and even more so as a student of history, to be present in this historic city of temples, Bhubaneswar, with its proximity to Puri, the home of Lord Jagannath, Bhubaneswar itself being the home of the Lingaraj temple, and not only that, its proximity to the Jain caves of Udaygiri and Khandagiri, the Hathi Gumfa inscription of Kharavela, as well as the Dhauli elephant, the Dhauli rocky dict. So it's truly a pleasure to be in this historic land and to be amongst all of you, such excited faces that I'm able to see today. So I'm thankful to Dilip sir, I'm thankful to Vajirao IS Academy to bring me here and to get an opportunity to interact with all of you. First of all, I'd like to say that all of you are really brave people who have taken on this examination. I've heard that some of you are already preparing for this examination associated with this institution. Some of you are planning to do so. So it's really brave of you to take on this challenge of sitting for what some people call the most competitive examination of the country. Some people even say the most tough examination in the entire world. So I firstly congratulate you for your aims, for your dreams that you've set so high. But at the same time, I'm not going to lie to all of you. I'm not going to paint only a rosy picture. I'll tell you that it's going to be a tough journey. It's not an easy path. There will be ups and downs. There'll be times when you feel like you don't want to study anymore. You feel even if you're studying, you're not getting what you desire. So those things will always be there, as they are in other aspects of life. But at the same time, you must also realize that it's not people who drop in from another planet who tend to achieve their dreams or achieve whatever they want to. It's people like you and me. And before 30th June, even I didn't know that I would be standing here today. So, and I think the beauty of this examination is when you see the diverse nature, the diversity in the results that we also often get. So there are people represented from all over the country, from almost all states of the country. There are people from rural backgrounds, there are people from urban backgrounds, there are people who have gone to the best colleges and universities. At the same time, there are people who have gone to their local government schools in extremely rural backgrounds, having farming backgrounds. So I think more important than anything else in this preparation is this strong will to succeed. And I hope that all of you, with the correct preparation, with the correct strategy, with the correct guidance, as well as, of course, your hard work, your self-discipline, I'm sure that all of you will achieve your dreams someday. For some of you, it may be the civil services examination. But even if you don't manage to crack this examination, or even if you have something else in mind, even if something else excites you or is your passion, I hope that all of you achieve your dreams. So before anything else, I'd like to say all the very best for all your future endeavors. And I'm no one to come and give you success mantras or tell you. I'm also at the very beginning of my journey, so I'm not going to tell you success mantras as to how to succeed in life. All I can do is tell you about my journey, and if that resonates with you, if you find things that you think may work out for you as well, because everyone has a different strategy, everyone has different priorities in life, everyone has different things that they want to achieve and different ways as to how to do it. So I can only tell you my journey, how I managed to deal with certain things, the problems that I faced, how I managed to overcome them. And all that I can say is, if you have decided to enter this examination, know why you're doing it, know what is your goal and what is it that motivates you, that is asking you to sit for this examination. Make sure it's not just external pressure. And if you have taken that journey, started that journey, it's possible that some of you may not succeed, but whatever the outcome is, you'll come out richer. You'll come out gaining a lot more knowledge, a lot more experience, and whatever comes at you, try to look at it as an experience that is going to teach you. And try to not get disheartened. It's easy to say that when you've sort of gained some sort of success, or when you're on the other side of it. But try to look at things with a positive outlook. Try to look at whatever positive that you can get out of it. So enough with this bhashan. I'll start with my, as to how I started my preparation and what motivated me towards it. So firstly, even during school, I did not always think that I'll become a civil servant. It was not something that was in my head. But I was always clear that I wanted to do something where I would be working with people, where I would be working on the ground. So even in school, starting from 6th, 7th, we had this option of choosing a club in school. So there used to be options like music or dance or debating. So those things also I sometimes participated in, but my main club that I chose was community service, where we used to stay back after school, teach children from the nearby government schools, even after that. So I think it was always something that I wanted to do, but it was only later when I saw examples around me of people who were bringing about a change in society that I thought that the civil services or the administrative services specifically would be a way in which I would be able to do that to the best of my ability. So, and there were, again, many examples in front of me who showed me that. So, while I started reading, I saw examples of an IS officer, MS Lakshmi Priya, in Assam in Bongaigaon, who through little initiatives that she had started, Project Sampurna in Assam, tackling the problem of malnutrition. Or Aki Ravi Krishna in Telangana, who had begun this process of Gudi Cheruvu initiative, in which he managed to raise the water table by about 6 meters. So these were things with slight changes, and with the right will, they were able to bring about a huge change to the people around them. So people like these motivated me, and I thought to myself that this is probably one platform where I can best serve my country in a way. So this was my idea. Towards the end of my graduation, latter half of my graduation, I decided that this is what I'm going to do. After my graduation, I started preparing for this examination. There were, again, as I said, many downs in this preparation as well. So 2 things that immediately come to my mind when I was asked is, so I gave my first attempt in 2020, which was last year. This was 2021, the attempt that I managed to succeed in. In that attempt, I cleared my preliminary examination. While I clearly remember that day also. It was around 11, 12 at night, quite late, and I was just going through my detailed application form to correct any minor errors that before submitting it finally. And I just realized that my medium for the mains examination, GS papers, the general studies papers, was Hindi. And I remember I kept staring at it for a really long time because I couldn't believe that it was Hindi. That, again, is an entirely different story, but we tried to go to UPSC many times and try to make that change again. There was some technical error due to which it had happened. I still don't know how it had happened. But the thing was that it had happened. There was nothing that could change it. And there were only two opportunities and 2 options available in front of me. Either I could forego my attempt and leave it and wait for the next mains and prepare for the next mains and next prelims, or I could do whatever I could in those 2 months and try to give the examination in Hindi. And I chose the latter. I think at that time, even for a second, I think it did not occur to me that I could somehow leave it. And I think I'm no one to preach, but I'd just like to say that anything that life gives you, I think it's always a good idea to take it for the positive. And it's often said that life is 20% what is given to you and 80% of what you make of it or what you see it as. So I probably saw it as another opportunity to learn Hindi better or learn my language better. So in those 2 months, so things like, it's easy to learn because I liked Hindi. Reading Hindi is my mother tongue, but learning it in a completely different way in terms of technical terms was a whole new challenge. So GDP became Sakal Gharelu Utpad. longitude and latitude became Akshansh, Deshantar, Ushnakatibandhiya, temperate, tropical. It was another challenge altogether, but it was also exciting. So I think it's how you look at it as well. That was the first this thing, and it's likely that you will fail also, or how you define failure is also another matter. So I missed the interview call by 1 mark, but I think I learned. But even that missing, I took it as a challenge, because I was positive that if I can do it in Hindi and still miss it by 1 mark, if I do it in English, which I'm much more comfortable with, it's much more likely that I will succeed. So I took it as a motivating factor. So this was the first thing. The second time where I felt was a little downward curve in my preparation was this time's mains, where I was really sick, and I had high fever. There was a lot of fatigue. So there was a point in time, two days before my optional papers, 2 days I couldn't study at all. I couldn't even pick up a book. 2 days before it, I was literally texting my mother on WhatsApp things that I wanted, because I didn't have the energy to speak. This is not something that I'm exaggerating, but there was so much fatigue in my body. But at that point, there are 3 days to go. You can either give it your all and not regret it later, or relax at that point and regret ki if I had pushed myself during those 3 days. So that's what I told myself. It's just 3 more days, 2 more days, 1 more day. I literally pushed myself to the hilt till I finally wrote my last word and heaved a sigh of relief on the last day of my optional papers that I wanted, because I didn't have the energy to speak. This is not something that I'm exaggerating, but there was so much fatigue in my body. But at that point, there are 3 days to go. You can either give it your all and not regret it later, or relax at that point and regret ki if I had pushed myself during those 3 days. So that's what I told myself. It's just 3 more days, 2 more days, 1 more day. I literally pushed myself to the hilt till I finally wrote my last word and heaved a sigh of relief on the last day of my optional papers. So I was asked to talk about certain ups and downs in my journey. So this is what I'm going to, 2 things that came to my mind. And the only thing I can say is all of us have our own experiences. All of us make our own mistakes. And I made mistakes. And the only thing is not to repeat those mistakes, to learn from them and go forward. And take anything that life gives you as a challenge. Go with it with a problem-solving approach, a solution-oriented approach as to this is something that is thrown at me. How can I best maneuver it? How can I go about it? And I think that's a positive way to look at life and keep you more happy, I feel, if nothing else. Coming to my actual preparation. So this is when I turn to how I prepared for this examination. As all of you know, or some of you know who are preparing for this examination, it consists of 3 different stages: the preliminary examination, the mains examination, and the personality test or the interview. So firstly, it's important to understand that it's not a clear-cut division. You can't just prepare for prelims, you can't just prepare for mains, you can't just prepare for interview. It's a holistic preparation, it's an integrated preparation where your foundations need to be very, very strong. And I made sure that there were 2-3 things that I kept in mind. First was keeping my sources limited. So whatever subjects that I had, I used to rely on 1, maximum 2 books for my very, very basic preparation. Mostly they were the NCRTs or any other basic books. If you are going for any coaching classes, stick to any 1 coaching class and just add things that you may find from the newspaper or anything else, right? So sticking to the basic book, sticking to the NCRT, sticking to whatever 1 book that you've decided for each subject for getting the hang of the subject, right? Apart from that, being very, very true to the syllabus, and this becomes even more important in the mains examination, because one thing about this examination is that there's too much to read. There's a overabundance of information, there is overabundance of material in the market, there is overabundance of help that is given to you, there is overabundance of advice that is given to you. Every other person will come and start giving you advice about, this is what you should do, this is what you should do. But you should know what you have to do, and your best guide for that, according to me, is the syllabus and previous year question papers. So these 2 personally were guides for me, especially in the mains examination, as to what to read and what not to read. So even when you're going through a book, that is being given to you, try to orient it with the syllabus that is provided and see, acha, this is something that can be answered, or looking at previous year question paper, that these are certain questions that are answered, and which will help me. So overall, as an integrated preparation, I'll talk about specific prelims, mains as well, but overall, keeping your source material limited, also for current affairs, also for the basic static material. Secondly, coming back to the syllabus, coming back to previous year question papers. And thirdly, of course, is revision. So whatever you do, even if it's the topper, even if it's someone who gets really high marks, the first time you read anything, the next time you come at it, it will be as if you've never read it before in your life. And this is something that all of us, everyone who has started preparing, has gone through. So make sure that you go back to it, keep on going back to it, rather than spreading your preparation wide, rather than reading 5 books for the same topic. Read one book, but read it 5 times or read it 3 times until you completely imbibe it. Right? This is overall for integrated preparation. Specifically for the 3 stages, there are certain slight tweaks to this preparation that you start making. So after you're done with your basic books, I'll talk about prelims specifically. So while your basic preparation is the same, for prelims, I personally found it one of the most challenging phases of this examination as compared to the mains and interview. I found the prelims most challenging because I always felt that there was a matter of luck also involved in it. The questions sometimes were very random, but I think I still managed to clear it both times. And the reason, maybe looking back, at that time I was as nervous as any of all of you, but I again tried to stick to the basics. So firstly, the previous 3-4 months before the mains exam, before the prelims examination, I devoted mainly to prelims. At that time, mains preparation went into a backseat around 3 to 4 months. If you have not cracked this examination before, if it's the first time you're appearing, or if it's something that you regularly fail in, if you failed 2 prelims, then you can probably increase that time. You can go from 3 to 4 months, or even some people even take 5 months for complete prelims preparation. But mainly I think basic books are very important. And if you look at the questions in the past 2 years or 3 years, it's not something that you will get out of a book straight. But if you have an understanding of the concept, and that's where conceptual understanding becomes important. You should not read a book just for completing that book. I've read that book. The reading that book is not important, understanding it is important. So if there are certain concepts in, say, geography, about folding and faulting of rocks, or science, some science concepts, or some economic concepts about macroeconomic theory, if you're not understanding it, go look at other sources, go and ask a teacher, go and ask a friend, go and look up something on YouTube, some small video that you find about it. Understand what it means so that you can better apply it in the prelims examination, because a lot of application based questions are being asked. So unless and until you understand the concept, you won't get it. And here I used to focus also a lot on polity and economics, because polity and economics, if you look at analyzed previous year question papers, polity papers are something that you can still prepare for, because you have your basic book, whatever you're relying on, be it Lakshmikant, be it something else, and you basically stick to that book and go through the constitution. So I also went through the Bare Act. And if you have a basic understanding of all the articles, all that, it's likely that you can answer a lot of polity questions. Similarly for economics, current affairs is there, but more than that, understanding of what is monetary policy, what is fiscal policy will be fruitful in sort of answering those questions. So in terms of time and effect, or time and sort of results that come out of it, I felt polity and economy I used to give a lot of importance in, because I could rely on those subjects. Other things I felt were more random. So this was my personal strategy. Everything should be given importance, but these things you should not leave at all, is something that I'm trying to say. Make sure that your basic things and basic concepts are very, very strong. Secondly, for current affairs, so current affairs, again, I'll talk about it later as well, but for prelims, I used to rely on the yearly compilations. Any sort of yearly compilations of current affairs you get. Some people use monthly compilations as well, so whatever works for you, but make sure that you have one source, because current affairs is a sea of information, and once you get lost in it, some people go through daily current affairs and weekly, so just make sure that you have one source. Add on it from your newspaper if you read the newspaper. I used to stick to a newspaper as well. But for the prelims, I mainly used to rely on the yearly compilations, go through it 2-3 times. And because sometimes people give in a lot of time, and because the nature of examination is changing, you don't get that reward out of it if you spend too much time going through 3 different magazines of current affairs. Thirdly, after your base concept is done, and even in between also, once you complete a subject, try to solve questions of it. And for that, you can enroll yourself in any test series or take any questions from the market that you get. So test series was one thing that used to help me in firstly completing the syllabus and understanding, acha, this is something that if I used to complete economics, I used to go and solve a test of economics. If I used to complete polity, so it gives you an analysis as to how much, how well you have read the basic books. Okay. Apart from that, practice of not just test series but also previous year papers, because previous year papers are important in helping you understand the language of the questions, the nature of the questions, and also the nature is also sometimes that you don't get it from the books. You also get the knack of eliminating questions or getting to know, acha, this is something that I can do if something like that comes, or trying to find corollaries in other papers. So previous year question papers are really important. I often give examples of where even questions are repeated. So say a question on right to privacy being part of which fundamental right was a question that was repeated verbatim. Similarly, there was a question on economics that was repeated within a matter of 2-3